is when you remove a part of your body. Now, if this was accidental, you're probably gonna wanna try and reattach it. Be prepared for this possibly not happening. A couple of things are going to determine if this body part is going to be able to be reattached. Some tissues can be more difficult to reattach than others, like the tip of the finger is actually really hard to reattach. How did this come off your body? Like, was this a crush injury? Crush injuries, there's really no good salvageable tissue anymore, so those are incredibly rare to reattach. Those are often just sew up and go. How long has it been since you had the amputation? There is a time limit for how long tissue can survive without being reattached, and it's honestly only about 6 hours. The general health of the tissue that was removed. For example, if you lost a toe related to frostbite, the tissue of that toe is not salvageable. Therefore, you would not be attempting to reattach. Here are some things that you can do to help increase your chances of reattachment. First of all, we're gonna wanna control the bleed. When it comes to first aid, healthcare, or anything like that, you've most likely heard the terms ABCs: airway, breathing, circulation. However, when we're dealing with any type of trauma situation, we rearrange this acronym to CAB: circulation, airway, and breathing. There's a reason for this. If we have no appropriate circulatory system, meaning if there is a major bleed happening somewhere and the blood is escaping from our bodies, then airway and breathing doesn't matter, because we can breathe as much as we possibly can. That is, there's no blood, then there's no breathing, because the blood is what takes that wonderful oxygen that we breathe into our lungs around our body. So when we have blood leaving our body, it becomes our priority. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take whatever part of your body has lost a part of itself, and you're going to apply pressure just below where it is happening. So if I lost my finger, I'm going to be applying pressure either right around the wrist or just below the finger, depending on how the cut happens. You're gonna have to be creative here. We see some wild things. If you've ever worked in an emergency room and a farmer's come in, you've definitely seen some very wild things. Once you've controlled the bleeding to the best of your ability, we're gonna wanna clean up that area, because you're gonna need a nice clean area to reattach your limb to. There's really no point in saving the finger if we're gonna wreck where the finger came from. So once that bleeding is controlled, you're gonna take a nice, clean, sterile gauze and you're gonna wrap it around. If you do not have a sterile gauze, don't really anticipate many people having this, take a clean cloth or the cleanest cloth that you have, and you're going to cover the area. What this does is it not only is going to kind of absorb any extra bleeding to the best of its ability, but it's gonna keep that tissue nice and clean, so nothing else is getting in there and possibly damage the tissues that are already there or cause an infection. We want that missing piece. If you are unsure if this can be reattached, there's only one way to find out. Get it and bring it. It is the best thing to do, is to have a medical professional assess if we can save this finger or foot, or honestly any body part that you've lost. But there's a special way that we need to take care of this, and I'm going to explain it to you right now. Before I explain to you what we're gonna do with your finger, I'm gonna encourage you to subscribe so that you and I can keep hanging out. And if you like this video, show me some love, and feel like this might benefit somebody else, don't forget to share it. What we're gonna do when we find our finger is we're gonna pick it up and we're gonna lightly rinse it off. If we have clean water available to us with nothing in it, no alcohol, rinse it off. Do not scrub it. What will happen here is any tissue here is very delicate. If we were to scrub that tissue, you've now damaged that tissue and reduced your chances of it being able to be reattached. We want to keep this as perfect as possible. No tissue damage. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your finger once you've lightly rinsed it, no scrubbing. And if you have available, best practice is going to be sterile gauze. But if you don't have that, take a nice clean cloth, as clean as you possibly can, and we're gonna take our finger and we're gonna put it in here. This works for any limb that you have lost, you're gonna try and do this with. The purpose of this is the same type of theory when we wrapped up the part that was removed. If we've lost our finger off our hand, we're wrapping our hand. We wanna try and protect this. It is a baby bird egg. It is a little robin's egg. We're protecting it with our life here, okay? We're gonna deliver it back to its nest, and hopefully Humpty Dumpty is going to be put back together again. Tissue preservation is our goal. We've cleaned the finger by rinsing it only, and we've placed it in a clean cloth to help preserve the tissue. We're gonna take a bag. If you do not have a bag, a container will work as well. Then we're gonna put our finger into the bag in the cloth, and we're gonna seal it. The amount of times that people have skipped this step and brought their finger, their toes, their ears, their nose, their feet, their hands directly on ice, and we've had to turn it away, I could have damn near been Dr. Frankenstein by this point. Do not forget this step. Putting your finger in another layer into a barrier prior to putting it on something cold is probably one of the most important steps of this entire process. We're not done yet. We're gonna take ice. We're gonna take our finger that has been rinsed, if that has been placed in a gauze or a cloth, that is now placed inside a bag, and we're gonna put it on top of the ice. The reason for this is that the ice is going to slow tissue decomposition. If any one of you guys listen to crime podcasts, we know that temperature plays a very big role in tissue decomposition, basically meaning how fast tissue is going to die. By placing the finger through a barrier onto ice, we are preserving the living cells of the tissue. So even though the cold is good, too much cold is bad. Another thing that the barrier is protecting against is water. What we have to remember is when ice gets warm, it becomes water. When water touches tissue, it soaks it up. Think of when you go swimming or you've been sitting in a bath for a long time. What happens to your fingers? Just because the item of your body is detached doesn't mean it doesn't absorb the same way it would normally. We want to keep that tissue as nice and dry and clean as possible. So we've rinsed it, we've put it into a dry, clean cloth, we've put it into a bag, we've put it onto ice, we're preserving it, and now we're taking it to the hospital. Things that we're gonna ask you when you come to the hospital is, how did this happen? Did you cut yourself using a sharp knife? Was there an explosion? Did you get run over? Did something crush you? This is going to help determine not only how we take care of you, the person, but if this piece of you can be even reattached. Second of all, we want to know what time this happened. Time is incredibly important because, again, we only have about 6 hours to reattach your finger, to put Humpty Dumpty back together again before it becomes a, sorry, play again. So we need to know what time this happened. One of the things that you can do, or have somebody with you do, because obviously you'll have bigger problems, is have them write down the time that this happened, or the time that it was put on the ice. Label the bag. If by some weird chance multiple people are arriving to the hospital at the exact same time with the exact same injury, that will help us immensely. But if you come to us and you pass this to the nurse who will take care of your finger with their entire life, they will properly label this, and this will be following you through the whole process of reattachment. Unless the doctor looks at it and says we can't reattach, it's a biohazard, then it'll unfortunately be incinerated. You will likely be receiving antibiotics, and you will likely be offered a tetanus shot. These are things that we offer prophylactically, just in case an infection does happen, as well as we want to try and prevent the possibility of tetanus, the infection happening. And many adults are not actually up to date on their tetanus shot, and they don't get their tetanus shot until something like this happens. I have had so much fun hanging out with you today and talking to you about amputations. If there's any other information you'd like to know, or maybe you want further explanation on something, just leave me a comment and I'll try my very best to get back to it. Yes, I do read all of the comments. Anyways, I'm going to encourage you to subscribe to my channel so we can hang out again real soon. If you enjoyed this video, share some love. But most of all, if you feel like somebody else might benefit from this type of information, don't forget to share it with them. Sharing it with them could possibly help them reattach an unfortunate limb loss. But that's all for today. Stay safe, and I will see you next time. Bye!